So we good? Anyway, we are going live pretty soon. Let's just go ahead and switch that up. So either way, greetings everybody. Glad to see you guys again. Just going through my usual Monday stream, and this is going to be a special edition of Tecmo Super Bowl. So I think it's definitely going to be a lot more fun this time than actually, I think the one that went last week was actually pretty decent too. Also, the Senior Bowl was on last week, or this week, so that is something I gotta look forward to. Because I don't remember if the practices started already. I think today was just the weigh-ins for, like, all the players that are involved. And then, of course, you got the interviews. Because I don't really think they have much stock in the weigh-ins. I think, it's just, like, the one-on-one drills, like, how they practice, and also just, like, who interviews with who will. Because it's usually the offensive and defensive linemen that have the best time there. Or the scouts usually have the best time analyzing those matchups. The wide receiver and corner ones are pretty decent, but I wouldn't really put too much stock into them. But then, I don't remember if there are any good running backs this year in the Senior Bowl. Don't think there are. And then, of course, the quarterback, everybody's got their eyes on is Baker Mayfield. It'll be interesting to see what he does. I actually think he's going to do pretty well. And then, in this stream, I am also going to talk about the games, just things that happened, and also maybe do just a little bit of a preview for the Super Bowl itself. And see, this could be a decent one. But who knows? Because I don't think, what was the last real, because I think, that Seattle-Denver one was that the last real blowout in the Super Bowl? Because all the ones New England have been in have been close. I mean, that Carolina-Denver one wasn't much of a game, but at least defensively, Carolina did their job. Which is kind of what I expected. So then, yeah, so I'll probably talk about that stuff, and then, just other things going on with me just throughout this entire stream. So I think I'll start the game in about another minute, and hopefully everybody out there is doing well. But then, if I also sound funny, it's because the temperature's been jumping all over the place again. And I also hate when that happens. But I am also wondering if I should, just as far as my workouts go, I am also wondering if I should just take the week off because of the way, or just because of the way recovery's been going. Because that might not be a bad idea. Alrighty, well, let's get to it. Let's see, I got this off the Tecmo Bowl site. They actually do this hack every year. But then we actually are gonna show off the intro here. I actually really do like the intro. Because this part always gets you really hyped to play this game. Also, that shot at 28-3. Just because I have a bunch of Patriot fan friends who have this 28-3, like either their bumper stickers or their or I know somebody who even has that as their like tire cover. Oh, it will be interesting to see what happens with them after this year. Personally, I think this is their last stand, but I'll get into that some more as this game goes on. I also love this intro. And I'll just let the whole music play out. Alrighty, well that's a good thing. So, the options are pretty much the same, except the thing they changed is that you can add the quarter length. And then you have all the, and also all the teams are in this game. So you don't, because back when Tecmo Super Bowl was first made, it was only 28 teams. And then now they have all 32. I'll just check in some of Jacksonville's stats, just because. Yeah, then just might as well look at Chicago stats just because I can. Though it will be interesting to see what these guys do in the offseason. Because I don't think they're really that far off. I just think, one, they need better receivers, and two, they just needed a better offensive system. Also, Kevin White to stay healthy, that's the other important thing. Because really the two big injuries he had were just really unlucky hits. Like, especially the one that broke his ankle. And then, unfortunately, we're probably, or Zach Miller's probably done too. Just see if they changed anything with, Okay, so all these stats look the same. So let's see if the schedule's any different. Okay, it's more streamlined. I kind of like that. And then they even show the dates too. That's pretty cool. And then the schedule is actually the exact same as it was in the regular season, so I think that's pretty cool too. Then this whole thing is changed properly. So either way, this is a really good hack, and I definitely would recommend it. Although I don't really know why Andrew Luck's starting the Pro Bowl, but okay. Boy, the Colts really screw the pooch with him. And then, as a result, T.Y. Hilton was a major bust on one of my fantasy teams. Oh, I forgot about Timmons being good. Although, unfortunately, we can probably say Ryan Shazier's career's done after that bad injury. And then 2 Denver Broncos are all-stars at corner. Still don't understand why Freeman's an all-star over Jordan Howard, but okay. And then, who else? All reasonable. And then with Tecmo Super Bowl, everybody plays a 3-4, so you don't really have to worry about having to have different formations. So either way, let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's see. I do need to actually do one thing. Oh wait, I already did this. Never mind then. So are they really all that different? Turns out fulls might actually be better in this game. Which is kind of weird. But screw it, we're not going to argue. Although I know I had to take out... Yeah, it's Amendola, see if he's any better. Because at least he catches the ball. And then we're going to put Dion Lewis in as a linebacker. Or not linebacker, the lead running back. And that's just so we can make things even here. So I think now, since I think New England's going to win, I'm just going to play as them. And then after this, I'm probably just going to do a computer versus computer. And then just to see how that goes. And since this is technically preseason, the music is different. Which is unfortunate, because I actually do like the postseason music a little bit better. I do like this one to be a lower scoring game. And one of the reasons I say that is because I feel like that Philadelphia's defense actually is a good matchup for what New England wants to do. Because they have corners that can keep those receivers in check. And then also they can get to Brady just by using 4. Or just by using 4 defensive linemen. And so far in this game, really running the ball is actually a little bit easier. And the best way to play defense is just to either pick the play or just be ready for whatever they do. And the funny thing about this game is you can also do a play where you can be the nose tackle and then just dive at them and then you'll get the tackle every time. So that's like a really cheap exploit in the game. Now, fortunately, we took care of business pretty easy there. And of course, the big wild card in this game is how well Nick Foles plays. So I don't really think, I don't think they're gonna have that much trouble running the ball on the Patriots. But I do feel like, they are probably gonna key in on the run and dare, somebody like Foles to beat them. And what I'm doing for defense is I'm just picking the Sproles run every time, and just hoping I cover everybody else. This is gonna be a pass, and I'm doing the same thing I did before, where I'm just trying to figure out where they're or how they're lined up, and then try and defend that way. I was actually in position to make that play. I just Unfortunately, he just made a good catch. He hasn't been going with that Sproles run yet, though. Let's see if we can hold him this time. Also, this is the exploit I was talking about. Except when you miss. That was a good punt. Let's see, one last play before the half. It's funny how the most part for the most part it's been number 1 seed versus number 1 seed. So I think the only time that didn't happen was when the Cowboys were the number 1 seed last year. So I think Baltimore might have been the last team from the or that didn't have a bye week that made the Super Bowl. Although I didn't actually watch much of the Philadelphia-Minnesota game. I think one of the reasons Philadelphia had their way with that defense was just because so many people were hurt from that other game, especially one of their best safeties. Picked up play and he still turned it into something. Well, fortunately, I got through on that one. I also do like how... Also, this game did have a lot of really good animations way back when. That is one thing that definitely makes it a lot of fun to play, even to this day. That tight end going down the seam's actually a nice play to have. And just trying to handle the clock properly. But it will be interesting to see if Gronk plays there in the Super Bowl. I think he probably should. But you never know. So I think Philadelphia might have some guys to be able to neutralize him or at least bracket him. It also depends on whether or not they can hang one-on-one with some of those receivers, which they probably could. Oh wait, I was trying to call a timeout. I think that's what happened. Don't think I got there. Okay, I did. Well, fortunately, me going into coverage having to work. See if I can at least get 24 out of this. Although, speaking of which, yeah, I think I just gotta go for the end zone here. Of course, why did you have to stop? Unfortunately, I'm not gonna make it. Now, I don't really expect this Super Bowl to go like that, but you know, fortunately, New England's just so OP in this game. An unintentional panty shot, but who's complaining? But then again, that is why Honey Pop is banned on Twitch. Not that I'd ever consider you streaming that anytime soon, but just getting it out there. Although, speaking of which, they are coming out with a second one. That was actually pretty decent at Honeycamp Studio. Once again, I don't know why I'm just compulsive like that. So we're just trying to play the run. Although I also remember hearing that if the Vikings were to go to the Super Bowl, then the city would have lost millions of dollars worth of revenue. And then way back in my my NFL quarterback club stream, I also mentioned that there's just too much money to lose for the host city to ever be in the Super Bowl. So then I'm not that surprised that the Eagles won, but I was surprised they won as easily as they did. Although I also was watching the National Championship and noticed that Nick Saban, who was working with Bill Belichick like way back when in Cleveland, he also has 6 championships. And then if Belichick wins, then this is going to be his 6th Super Bowl. Just a lot of weird things come together. Which one should I? That was dangerous. So what I'm trying to do now is just do the close it out drive. That's where you try and just chew up as much clock as you can and then eventually score a touchdown. They do call this the 4-minute offense. Okay, well that wasn't exactly the best version of it, but whatever, that's still a touchdown. And that's usually how I play, is I usually play faster pace in the first half and then try and just close it out in the second half. Kind of similar to what the Cowboys in the 90s did. Then again, since I grew up during that era, I shouldn't be that surprised. Though I haven't really played much of a Madden game since like I think 04 or 05. And you can definitely see why they made Tecmo Super Bowl 2 for NES, or SNES a lot harder. Just because this game isn't really that hard to exploit. Next time when you mess up on reading the play like that. I missed him. And And so is everybody else. We don't need any more David Tyree situations happening. Pick the play and he still runs for a first down. Okay, this time I know he's gonna pass though. Let's just do that. Two guys open and he threw it to me anyway. Not gonna argue. Oh, I forgot you could do that in this game. See, how many timeouts do they have? Let's just pick up a first down and find out. Oh yeah, I forgot about the check the defense being an option. Because defensive players don't get hurt in this game, but you can like check out their physical condition, so you can tire them out over time. Also, I just had some weird glitch. That should be enough. Well, that was simple enough. Okay, now that's our last time out. And then really all I'm trying to do here is just run down the clock all the way. No big deal. And then just one more. So either way, I highly doubt the Super Bowl is going to end up that way, but that's just one thing I wanted to show off. And really with Foles, they only... Although Foles has a game that bad, I wouldn't be surprised either. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to use the computer versus computer. And I know that Iron Fury does this as part of his Fury Bowl, because he is a devout Giants fan. Although it might be time for the Giants to start rebuilding. Alright, actually, it's been time for a while. They just need to start doing it now. So also, I am also going to put it out there. Blech. I am going to put it out there too that I do think that Stephon Gilmore will be the Super Bowl MVP. He is one of the corners for the Patriots. Although it's actually funny when they did get caught cheating with videotaping signals in 2007, or yeah, 2007. I was telling my brother pretty much the same way I played Tecmo Super Bowl, when trying to like read what formation they're in and then try and predict the play that way. But then as far as that coaching matchup goes, I think this is going to be a tough one for Doug Peterson. This guy's, you got a second-year guy, and then you also got a relatively young offensive staff going up against a guy like Belichick. Now, granted that Frank Reich did play against him in Buffalo, but he didn't really necessarily play, but he helped prepare. Which is actually pretty interesting. Because Frank Reich was also the guy who led that 35-3 comeback against the Oilers. So that's like kind of funny how things kind of went full circle on that one. But who would I say is my wild card for this game? So I think with Philadelphia, it just depends on Ajayi and Zach Ertz getting open. Or whether or not Ajayi can run the ball. So I'm thinking that's what the Patriots' strategy is going to be, is just make sure you stuff Ajayi and Blunt and those guys. And then just dare Foles to beat you. Or at least take away all the easy throws for him too. Also interesting that LeGarrette Blount did play against or play for the Patriots. And then he's gonna play against them in the Super Bowl. But I did say last week that I don't think people are giving Philly's defense enough credit. And so far I've been right about that. And I do think that if they can, as long as they can get to Brady with 4, then they should at least be able to keep the Patriots offense in check. Because the Jaguars defense actually did the job for a while until like the until the fourth quarter. Because it was really just offensively they couldn't do enough, and then the defense was on the field for too long. Which is pretty similar to what happened to the Falcons in their Super Bowl loss. But I do know that both the Patriot coordinators are in line for jobs next year, or for head coaching jobs next year. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if this is their last stand, really. Especially after trading Jimmy Garoppolo, who was supposed to be the future. And then there was that report that came out about this whole rift between Brady, Belichick, and Bob Kraft. And then how supposedly Brady was a reason that Jimmy Garoppolo got traded. I also love how all 4 of those guys are just standing there. Also, a couple times I did try commentating on these games. Just like, well, like any other sportscaster. Although, who's getting the Super Bowl this year? I think NBC is. So even though, unfortunately, we had to deal with Chris Collinsworth, we do get Al Michaels. And then I know Madden started shifting over to Tom Brenneman as their, or as their main commentator. Although, what would my prediction for the score be? I don't know, I'll probably come up with one next week. But I do think that, it's probably going to be lower scoring. Which actually helps the Eagles, if you ask me. Although I am wondering what, or what will be interesting to see what happens after both their coordinators leave, because I think, what was it, the last time that happened was, I think after their 2nd or 3rd Super Bowl, and then it took them a while. But then they actually did end up getting better in 07. Of course, that was when Brady was just entering his 30s, so different time. That was weird. This game does have a few glitches to it. Oh, this actually has gotten interesting. Although, speaking of which, who was it? Although, that might be one interesting video if the Patriots end up losing, what urinating treat does with it. Because he actually had a really good one chewing out the Steelers the way they lost. And then he actually didn't make one for the Jaguars, so... I mean, at least, he has some respect for teams. Then, of course, you had all the Patriot fan friends here, or all the Patriot fans here just stressing out like crazy over the game yesterday. Although I did correctly say the score was going to be 24-20 at halftime. Because it was, what, 14-10 Jaguars? Though I wouldn't be that surprised if the Jaguars end up, making a run of it a few years from now. I gotta press something, don't I? What did I do with that controller? And you already saw that. Though the second half is really where the game's gonna be made. So let's see, I think also it was a second half where the Patriots started moving the ball against the Jaguars. But then you had the Eagles dominate the Vikings the whole time. Which is actually funny because the Vikings actually were up 7-0. So then, turns out that... Well, then again, the Pro Bowl's also this weekend. Not that anybody gives a crap about that. Because usually the best players not only don't play in that, but they also just end up... are just being there for the trip. Which kind of made sense earlier when the Pro Bowl was in Hawaii. Because at least you got a free trip to Hawaii. Now, granted, you could have done that anyway because you're making so much money as a pro football player. But at least you get treated well there. But then... see, I might actually consider, if I do save up enough money, I might actually consider going to a Mobile for the Senior Bowl next week, or next year. Because it's a nice little scouting thing. You get to see like how well these guys do. And then you get to see how well they interview with other teams. So I do follow a guy on Instagram who does like this mental conditioning with athletes. Probably should message him, see if these if I can do something like that. Of course, I would have to go to Florida for that, but I mean, I might as well just get as much experience as I can. If I was gonna do something like that for hockey, I guess I'd have to learn a lot more about the sport in the first place. I also love how the running backs consistently run into the guy. Although I am actually surprised this has been as close a game as it has been. Although it doesn't help when they fumble in the end zone, and then they end up getting a touchdown off that. So that's like, what, 3 turnovers for them so far? Or maybe they're second. Because I think as far as the rest of the game goes, I do think the Jags defense did provide a good blueprint for what to do. Because also the defenses that have given them problems in the past were all like Seattle based. Because with Jacksonville's defense, you had Seattle's old defensive coordinator build it up. And then Atlanta's head coach used to be Seattle's defensive coordinator too. Although then you also have Jim Schwartz, who used to be the head coach in Detroit. So he was good at building that team up. He just couldn't take it further just because of mistakes. Because do keep in mind they were 0-16 when they brought him in. And then he got them to the playoffs in 3 years. So the guy can coach. Although, let's see if the Patriots can put it away here. Though we don't really see Brady scramble that much. Saying that's also going to be important for the Eagles to make sure you keep the pass catchers that the Patriots have, or at least the pass catching running backs like White. Make sure he doesn't get the ball. Patriots have been on, what, a 21-0 run in this half? So then we're just watching the rest of this wind down. Although, let's see, I think, Wednesday, depending on my schedule, I know that, some other people were talking about a Castle Crashers co-op, so I might or might not be in on that on Wednesday. So if that's the case, I'll probably just move, Fester's Quest to, Tuesday. And also with my schedule the way it is, I might start streaming earlier. Of course, I am gonna have to get that all under wraps soon. Oh, let's see if he takes this one all the way. Except I forgot how fast that kickers get in this game. Although that didn't work out. Although you're doing what the Falcons did when you're constantly passing when you're up. Although, let's just stand there for 20 seconds, wait for someone to hit us, and then fumble. Unfortunately, I do happen to be in Rhode Island, so I do have to take a shot at the Falcons. Because that's just how it goes. Even though I do happen to be a Chicago Bears fan, but that's just what happens when you're here for as long as I've been. Although they did make it interesting. Oh, it's probably just reset or something. So anyway, the sim score of this was 34-21. And then really it was just turnovers that made the difference. So that's kind of how that went. Although, for the hell of it, I might as well just simulate this season, just to see how that goes. See, I gotta press that. And then I'll just go ahead and fast forward. Because do keep in mind this was before the, no, this wasn't before that draft. This was before, like, the start of training camp. So then, like, trades didn't register, and then people getting hurt and all that other fun stuff. Let's see, where are we? Probably week 4. Although it might have been easy to pick New England this year. And then what were the other picks, like Dallas, and then... Although if you were just watching this, I did correctly say the Giants were going to suck this year. I didn't think they'd be second worst record in the league, but I did say they were going to be like 5-11 or 6-10 or something. Of course, I did also say the Bears were going to be 5-11, and I got that one right. What was the big one I got wrong? Probably the Raiders going 12-4. I think that was the biggest one I got wrong. Then again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders won like as soon as they got to Las Vegas. Or at least within the first few years. Let's see if I can recognize where we are. Actually, we're pretty close. Did they even say like who won the division or not? Or did anyone win the division yet? Oh, we're 1-13. That's hilarious. Alright, 5. That's, I guess, not. I am still waiting for that first division championship celebration. I always did like this one. Although, what was my favorite one? Probably Tecmo Super Bowl for SNES was my favorite one. And then I thought Tecmo 3 was pretty generic. Although that's interesting. Although I don't know if Jay Cutler or Ryan Tannehill's a quarterback for Miami in this version. Although that may or may not have happened had Rodgers not gotten hurt. It's a tie. Turns out we actually did get a tie in this game. And then the window slammed shut on Seattle this year. Though I think Tennessee's the one that has to make a move in the offseason. They actually did a decent job getting a good coach. And then Los Angeles is still San Diego. It's funny how many of these came down to the wire. Then these guys start off like 12-1. Well, then again, Carolina did make the playoffs, so at least that was reasonable. And New England somehow went 8-8. So you've done a wonderful thing, and then you extended Marvin Lewis for 2 more years. Also, seriously, go watch Urinating Trees channel if you are a football fan, because he definitely does make you laugh. They won 14-1. Now I am trying to figure out who the Bears should draft. Because I'm hoping that one of the quarterbacks drops that far so they can at least hold them up for auction. And then bid them off to some desperate team. Now it looks like an interesting crop. Okay, so it was Cutler. Interesting. Then again, Miami really wasn't that bad. They just weren't that good either. And that always makes me happy when the Packers lose. I also do love the injury recovery music. I don't know why, it's just really catchy. Hey, just like real life. Except the Chiefs didn't blow a giant lead this time. Although I will go on record saying I actually do like that hire for the Bears. And then they're just building a young staff around him. Though I would prefer if they had some more experienced assistants, but I'm not really going to argue with the thought process here. Although Eddie Lacy did get a lot of flack for his weight. Delaney Walker had that good a game. He was pretty highly rated in fantasy. Although I have no idea what I'm going to do with that because of how many huge injuries there were this year. And let's all go ahead and make fun of the Cowboys for losing. Just because that kind of thing never gets old. Oh, Los Angeles and Pittsburgh. Although it is really a shame that Phillip Rivers never made a Super Bowl. Because to me, he was still one of those elite quarterbacks. And then the only time he actually had the team around him was 07. And then they ran into that undefeated New England team. And then I think 09 might have been their best shot. And then, of course, that's when Keating missed all those field goals. So now we got Carolina and Los Angeles. Although that would also really suck if that's the only Super Bowl Newton makes. But then again, I bet Newton would be really good in this game. So then it turns out under my simulation, the Chargers end up being the champions. And then this is just going through their roster. Did not know Cardale Jones was a backup. I also do love this ending music. Gosh, that's really good celebrating music. And also, that is Tecmo Super Bowl. This game is awesome. Go get it. That's really the only thing I could say about it. Because, be real here, let's, or what's there that hasn't already been said about this game? Because to this day, there are still tournaments in it. using like reproductive cartridges of roster changes and whatnot. Because to this day they still have tournaments with it. See what time it is. Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop pretty soon, since I do gotta go to work early tomorrow. Or I've got an early day tomorrow. Although it was interesting to see how they came up with these. Or with the particular stats for each player. Actually, 30 for 30 actually did a really interesting piece on the USFL. But he is right about that, though. Because what happened was he tried to compete with the NFL by having them play at the same time, because before the USFL played in the spring, and I actually am not opposed to having a spring football league, because you can get like young guys a lot more playing time, you can get guys who got hurt during the season a lot more playing time, especially somebody like Kevin White could really use it. But getting back to the USFL, they actually did have some things going right for it when they were playing in the spring, and they did manage to snag some players that were NFL caliber talent. Like, I think Jim Kelly was one of them, and then maybe Steve Young. But then, the biggest reason that they ended up messing that up was because they tried to move their schedule to the fall to try and compete directly with the NFL. And then, unfortunately, it went pretty badly. So I think, what was it? I think 1987 was when the players' strike happened. So that was actually a big boost for the USFL, too. But it actually is a really interesting 30 for 30 on it. I don't think that's on Netflix anymore, but it's definitely worth checking out. But I think with that said, I'm going to go ahead and call it a stream here, so thank you guys for watching. I'll probably see you Tuesday or Wednesday.